Morning. Check this out. All right, and if you're been studying the Bible for a while and looking at other brothers and sisters sites, I'm sure you've heard that the Psalms, like after 100, especially in the 120s, they seem to be giving an exact account of what occurs from each year. Like 120 would be the year uh, 2020, right? And then 2000, 119, 118, so and so further back. But you can only see this in hindsight. But if you read these Psalms and take every word back to their origin, you can clearly see it. And I just, and the shame of it is you can only kind of see it afterwards in hindsight, right? Because you don't know what the year holds. But so this, he gave me Psalms 121 to go through, right? And I'm going to try to make this quick. But just out of curiosity, I'm like, wow, this really looks like what's going on today. And then, so I look back to Psalms 120. Now, check this out. Psalms 120, which would refer to the year 2020, basically. I'm looking at it, and it talks about the deception and lying tongues, and it keeps repeating that. Lying tongues, and it talks about making us stay in our abode, or our tent, or our dwelling place, our home, keeping us confined in our home out of fear of being gathered together, out of fear of being gathering together. And it causes slothfulness. It causes a lack of work. It causes lack of work. And it keeps talking about lying and slandering people, slandering one another. And what was going on in 2020? Presidential election, right? Slandering and lying. And it says that this was done to draw us out so they can seize us. That creates more division, to destroy us by piercing us with a sharp arrow that cut our lives short. Piercing us with a sharp arrow that cuts our lives short. That's what it talks about in Psalms 120. And it says we're looking for peace and health. And that was weird that I seen that. We're looking at peace and health. We were looking for health. I was surprised to see that. Usually it's just like looking for peace or comfort and stuff like that. But it actually said health. Looking for peace and health. And we're looking for work. To go back to work, basically. And to have human relations. This is what we're seeking. We're looking for peace and health and to work and to have human relations again. This is all in Psalms 120. It says, but they are preparing for war to consume us and overcome us and destroy us by this arrow that they're piercing with us with that cuts our lives short. That's in Psalms 120. So I was pretty excited when I went through Psalms 121. Now, so this verse, is this telling us the rapture is going to occur this year? I'm going to read it through Psalms 121. There's only 8 verses as we see it in most of our Bibles. Then take every word back, being led by His Spirit, looking at the lexicons, and I firmly believe that's the way He preserved His word through the pictographic languages that it was written in. And it seems to be repetitive throughout every book of the Bible. He's revealing like the same truth. He's telling us to wake up, who we are, how we got here, what's happening here, and what's about to happen here, what's occurring. Right? And it's all through the lexicons and stuff. But you have to be led through His word by His Holy Spirit, because only the Spirit of God Himself can teach you spiritual truth. Okay, so first I'll read Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made the heavens and the earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber or sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And it's funny because I live in a place called the Preserves. Just saying, anyways, it's I just find that interesting. So now I'll read that verse, Psalms 121, that chapter, being led by his Spirit. You can believe that or not, but he's revealed a lot of truth here. So, here we go, Psalms 121. I will praise you during my wandering journey that I've made by a mistake, turning from you as a harlot, selling myself into slavery of sin to another. Every step growing up in the light that is offered by you, to lift myself, to be restored to you, furnishing me with your armor of protection, obtaining a pardon for exalting myself in this affliction of my outward appearance of conceit that's full of pride, being humbled by your fountain of knowledge that gives me sight of spiritual truth from on high, from whence my query began, following another down into war, to be stricken in age and taken away, lifting my eyes up for help and protection to Yahweh, the one true God that gives aid in times of hardship and distress while we are below. Governing my journey, you are governing my journey, preparing me as a warrior to be used to bring forth and gather a yield to the heavens from the inhabitants of the earth, which is in contrast to the promised land. By Jehovah paying the wages for our transgressions, committed to be delivered up by stretching out your hands, made to be inflicted, so you can bestow a gift, being fastened to a frame and hung up, slandered, submitting yourself to suffer willingly, to bring forth a yield to God, by stepping on and crushing this idol that possesses us from the pudenda, that's from the female reproductive system, that is a talebearer. So this idol that possesses us from the pudenda is a talebearer, a liar, a slanderer. That's our bodies, that's our flesh. The false accuser of the angels. So this thing is the false accuser of the angels that wavered and have fallen into decay and have fallen down into decay to carry a yoke, being overthrown and shaken. That means being made to doubt. So you are putting a hedge of protection around us to keep us safe, watching over us that are stricken, tired, and weary. We're all tired and weary, right? Vowing to guard us, marking us, sealing us as your own to keep. Prevailing as God, conquering our division by death, to return us from exile. Preserving us by giving us the power of the Prince of God to contend with these false gods, these idols from a demon's imagination, not to grow weary and fall into the sleep of death, which is eternal separation from God. By long established habits and activities and other interests that are unlikely to change, having our hearts hardened by sin and death. And in the Latin, it means a long-standing chronic disease and being made to grow old. Jehovah, the self-existent, eternal, one true God, will keep guard over us to protect and save our lives, keeping his covenant with us. So take heed and wait for him. Jehovah, who came into existence to remain with us by his word, being committed to break and crush, that means to crush this idol from the pudenda, right? The cause of the fall, which was the cause of our fall, as a beacon of light for us to follow. He's our shepherd. We're supposed to follow him, right? Desiring to give us the breath of life so we can stand as one together, protecting us in this temporary life from above as it comes to an end. These empty images of a mere phantom that give us the illusion of life by its resemblance, and as an idol of vanity that is growing dark by willful ignorance of a person believing this physical temporal world to be right, that it gives life, but it is actually a place of inferiority, bringing death by worshiping this idol of wickedness, presumptuously consuming its own. It's an object of illicit worship masquerading and as a shining battlement, a shield. It masquerades as our armor, as our shining shield of light. It's claiming to give light from our descending into it, promising a gift of knowledge from another source. Having an abode or a house that is in opposition to God in the land of captivity. It's human bodies which are the abode of light and darkness. And that's word H, Hebrew word H, 1004, if you want to look it up. Human bodies which are the abode of light and darkness. A house that contains a family that have descended from the temple of God, holding us within it as the door of a dungeon in a prison, without the steward from the temple, who is Jesus Christ, to rebuild it, as children of one that is sold into slavery, being captured and fatally wounded with disease of sin, by the lack of the light of the truth, to be punished and slaughtered daily by our journey into a temporal place for a season of darkness, being drawn away from the light by adversity of being enclosed and enveloped, likened to going down a spiral staircase that blinds us by a veil being folded over our eyes. Jehovah, the one true God, shall keep guard over us and preserve us as a treasure that is stored up from the misery and evils and distress of wrongdoing and being troubled by the wickedness of our mistake. To shepherd us as a flock of people, as our companion and a special friend, as a herdsman feeding his sheep and protecting them from harm, giving our soul the breath of life by the shedding of his blood himself, so we can be refreshed by the Spirit of the one true God, marking ourselves as a watchman to go forth with a purpose to draw up those who have fallen, to be plucked out and escape in the end, to enter into the light, being gathered together, and made, giving us strength, strengthening us while we are down at war, being lifted up and taken in during the conjunction. So we are to be lifted up and taken in during a conjunction, which is the action of two events occurring at the same time. A joining together, as in being in union with God forever at a specific point in time that ends our journey here, to have everlasting life that has been hidden and concealed, veiled from our sight by our flesh, to have victory by the revealing of the truth. Is that talking about the rapture? To have everlasting life, to be called up at a conjunction in time, a conjunction at a specific point in time that occurs at the same time, joining together, being in union with God forever at a specific point in time that ends our journey here, to have everlasting life. And this has been hidden and concealed from our sight by our own flesh, our own body, our own physical form that is in this world, loving all the things of this world, right? You're bound to it by the fear of death and by all the things this world has to offer that keeps you blind and distracted, that caters to your flesh. It's your own flesh. Your worst enemy looks at you in the mirror every day when you get up and look in the mirror. It's your worst enemy. Don't fear death. He strengthens us. He wants to give us his Holy Spirit, the breath of life, so we can go back home. Okay, so if Psalms 120, and as I went through it, and I went through it quickly just to see if it actually related to what happened in the year 2020, and it seems to relate perfectly, making us stay in our homes out of fear of gathering together, piercing us with an arrow, dividing us, piercing us with a sharp-pointed object that shortens our life. That's what it says in Psalms 120. Now 121 seems to be like he's calling us together, giving us his Holy Spirit, protecting and preserving us, strengthening us so that we can be used to go forth as a warrior to yield fruit, to bring a yield to God, bringing us together so we can be caught out at a specific conjunction and point in time. I think that's going to happen this year. It seems to be saying it's going to happen here. This is Psalms 121. And anybody that's studied the Bible for a while knows that they relate to the years, but you can only see it in hindsight. But yet, this one seems to be pointing something out. Is it the rapture? Could be. I think it is. I believe it is. I want to believe it is. And by what we're seeing in the world and what's occurring on the prophetic stage throughout the world, all the tragedies and volcanoes and earthquakes and mass animal and fish and bird die-offs and everybody's at war and what's going on in the Middle East over there. It's time. It's time. Wake up. Let's go home together. It's probably too long already, but God bless you. I think it's amazing. Look at these Psalms for yourself. Take every word back to its origin using the lexicons, not just the Strongs. Use the lexicons. It's far more detailed. And I believe that's how God preserved his word, through the pictographic languages they were written in. And I believe his original writings were perfect, but our translations kind of deceive us a bit. We're not getting the bigger picture. All right, God bless you. Have a great day. Bye.